Welcome to Life-Changing Challengers, the podcast where passion meets purpose. I'm Brad Minus, your host, guiding you through stories of transformation and triumph, from endurance feats to overcoming adversity. Our guests defy the limits and inspire action. Ready to ignite your desire and incinerate your barriers? Join us. Your journey to the extraordinary begins now. Welcome back to another episode of Life-Changing Challengers. I am super excited to have Jeff Luther with us today. He has a podcast and is probably one of the coolest freaking titles of a podcast that I've ever seen. All can, no can't. And that's like everything that we talk about here on Life-Changing Challengers. So I'm super excited to talk to him. Hey, Jeff, how you doing?
I'm great, man. Thanks so much for having me on, Brad.
Oh, it is my pleasure. And I'm really, really excited to hear about everything that you've been through. This is a big mystery for the audience right now. Oh, anyway, all can, no can't. Love it. Absolutely. So, hey, Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood? Like, where did you grow up? What was the complement of your family? And what was it like to be Jeff as a kid?
Yeah, that's fun. I grew up in a little town called Fairplay, rural Georgia, like post office, 2 convenience stores, rural. Life was good. Like, I grew up traditional mom, dad, 3 kids, dog family. We were probably more purple collar than blue collar. Life was good. I could get on my bike as a kid during the summer and be gone all day. I'd go fish. It was so fun. I could take a .22 rifle out of my house, walk out of my driveway, cross the street, and go into the woods and hunt. So it was cool. I mean, life was good. My dad wasn't nice, high expectations. I was never enough, that sort of thing. But I think we're all dragging around something in a wagon behind us, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Gen X.
Yeah.
I have a t-shirt. It says Gen X, rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. Like, I talk to my kids. Like, man, the worst position I played in baseball growing up was coach's son.
Yeah.
Like, it sucked. The worst part of baseball for me was the ride home.
Yeah. Yes. I hear that. My dad didn't coach me in baseball, but he made me play it, and I was super bad at it. And of course, on the ride home from the games. But that was his sport. He loved baseball. He did everything, blah, blah, blah. But he decided to be a soccer coach.
Oh, wow.
And that was just as bad.
That's just so he could yell at you.
So, do you play sports?
I played football, basketball, baseball. I gravitated to cycling when I turned 13.
Oh, that I got to hear about.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about cycling. We're talking about, at the time, 10 speed, on the road, criterium, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yep. I like the suffer. So the distance, I learned at an early age that I liked that distance and suffering, just the long, grueling rides.
Yeah.
In this episode.
All right. So I'm an endurance coach, so I've been on those long, grueling rides, 100-mile rides. I've been on them, love them. And yeah, I get it. It will change your life if you've never been on them.
I tell people I'm a recovering cyclist. I used to say I'm a recovering cyclist. Now I say I'm a recovering ultra runner.
Oh, yeah. Well, we need to keep going because I got to hear about that. And I know that's going to come later because most ultra runners don't even start until they're 30, 40. So, yeah. But so would organize? Oh, you said football, basketball, baseball in high school. Yeah. Did you go to college?
I went to college. I didn't play any college ball, but baseball was my sport. I played up through high school, and in high school is where the pitchers became men. Like, that was the first time as I played first base, and as a freshman, there weren't a lot of first basemen. So I tried out up for varsity because they wanted a first baseman. And that was the first time anybody threw a pitch at me. That was my first real curveball. And it was fast, and the dude was big, and that ruined me. That shut down my baseball career. I couldn't hit it, couldn't see it. Yeah. I mean, I never recovered.
Been in those batting cages.
Yeah.
80 mile, 75 miles, 60, even the 60 mile.
Even 60. Yeah. I mean,
60 miles is hot. fast.
And you hear it. You hear the seams.
Yeah. I played tennis as a kid recreationally. We'd spend all day at the tennis courts in the summer and then going to tennis matches and seeing the difference where the ball came. And then going to high school and getting into the tennis ball cannon. Cool. Where did you went to school? You went in Georgia? Yeah.
Yeah, I went to West Georgia College. It's now University of West Georgia.
Nice. What'd you study?
Psychology. I mean, like, you know, I thought that was the easiest thing. So, and I went for 2 years and dropped out, and then did a trade school and dropped out of that, and then started the entrepreneur journey.
What did you go to trade school for?
For my core, because I wanted to go back to college. So I went to a technical school, trade school, just to take core classes because I was going to go back to college after pretty much failing out. And I was like, oh my God, I could be earning money and I'm sitting in this classroom again. This is nonsense.
That sounds amazing. That's like, did you ever see Back to School?
Rodney Dangerfield?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he went to the business class and he's sitting there and the guy's like, we're going to do this. And then first you must go ahead and this. And he's like laughing and he's like, do you have something to say? I'm like, you can't do it that way. He's like, what are you talking about? This is the way it's blah, blah, blah. He says, no, first you got to grease the freaking government so that you can get your permits. Then that might be the way you do things. That's not the way we do things the right way here in class. You don't do it that way in fantasy land either.
Right.
So, it was so funny. But that's what I get. I get that frame of mind whenever I think about that. When people that actually are like, college, let's just start something. So what was the first business you started?
First business that I started, this is kind of how my entrepreneur journey went. I wanted to go earn. First business I started was cutting grass when I was like 9. I killed it cutting grass. I would take my dad's riding lawnmower so I could ride, drag the weed eater in the gas can, and go cut grass. I was cutting grass like $60 a pop. You do 2 a day, and you're getting $100 or so as a kid. It was amazing.
Obviously, you were frugal. If you did that, you wanted to keep stacking it for some reason. What drove that? Because most kids are like $120.
It was always a thing. It was always a thing. It was a new skateboard. It was a new gun. It was a scope. It was always a thing. Yeah.
You had a goal in mind.
But I loved money. Like I loved having the money, but man, did I love to spend it too.
Yeah. Well, what's the use of having it if you can't spend
Right.
it?
Yep.
Right. But I can see, I think there's like 2 kinds of people that would look at that, right? They'd be like, oh, I want to buy stuff and I want to get this. And yeah, I have my goal to get this. But then there's people that just kind of lift up the mattress and go, look at all of that.
I didn't both.
Yep. And then it pains you to take it out and go, do I really need it?
Yep.
I kind of like the looks of this a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, so the first board that I bought on my own was a Steve Caballero, Powell Peralta. And I knew that I wanted the board. I knew what the cost was, everything about it. And when I had enough money to buy the board, I was like, shit, if I spend all this money, I'm not going to have any money left. So then I kept getting more money. I was like, all right, well, I need to stack some more money under my mattress so that I'll have something to look at when I go buy that board.
Nice. Yeah. So, all right. So that was your kid journey. And then obviously you did well. What about when you decided that, hey, school was not for you? What was the first business that you started there?
So school's not for me. Then I went into corporate America. I was like, maybe I can get a job at a corporation. My dad had worked for a Fortune 100 my whole childhood. Same company, same corporation. They had these pensions. So he always harped, big company, and they'll take care of you long term, all this stuff. But that stopped. That era quit. So I went to work for Georgia Pacific, which it was great. It was a great job. But of course, without a degree, I was limited to how high I could go. At least I told myself that. So I worked there for a few years. Then they transferred me out to Denver. I went out to Denver for a few years. They transferred me back. And when they moved me back, it's like I hated my job. I hated Friday because I knew I was going to have to be back there Monday. So I quit one day. I was like, here's my 2 weeks. I'm done. I didn't know what I was going to do. So I bought tax liens for a little while, government, a real property tax lien. And then you buy those and the people have to buy them back from you and they pay a fee. You make a little bit of money doing that. It's kind of a lot of work. And I stopped doing that. I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I was about to get married like literally about to get married. It was 3 months before my wedding. So I started a lawn care business. I just started cutting grass. I worked at Home Depot from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. so that I could get insurance. And then I started doing home inspections. That was my first real adult business. And I grew that into a company that I'm actually in negotiations to sell now.
Nice.
I hope it's nice. I'm terrified.
So interesting enough, my dad had an appraisal business. So, but when he was working for someone, it was the interest rates bottomed out. Like, what was it? It was 1990. So I was in school. I mean, 1993, 1994, that area, 1992, 93, 94. So he was working for another place and the interest rates bombed out. And he's like, we're flooded. He says, I'm going to teach you how to do this.
Yeah, it was so busy.
So they're going to teach you how to do it. And this is going to be something you get. So it was $100 a pop. Every time you did an appraisal, it was $100. Yeah. I didn't realize that they were going for $350 and there was given $100 to the appraiser. And basically you made your own time. You called up the people. You said, hey, I'm going to be to inspect your home. And then you find comps, which at the time we didn't have the internet. So you had to go to a real estate office.
Yeah.
And peer through their books, make copies, take a picture of the house, and then come back. Really wasn't that bad because the comps had to be within a mile. So it was like, go to the place, do the inspection, go to real estate, find 3 comps, go take pictures, go home, write it up. So maybe it was 3 hours total per one. So as a college kid, beer money, I was like, do a couple of appraisals a week, $200. I was,
right.
And then I left school for a little while, just like you did, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I started doing that full time. So I get it. But I went back to school when the interest rates went up and there wasn't much work anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you were doing home inspections. So now that I talked to you about appraisal, did you roll it into, when you grew it, did you stay, is it strictly home inspection or have you grew it to something else? Did you start bringing in I don't know, titles or something?
No, we do commercial inspections, commercial bowls, just mostly residential. So no, we hired folks and we just stayed on the grinding out inspections. We were probably in 2019, we were probably the largest in the Atlanta market.
Wow. That's the Atlanta market. That's huge.
Yeah. It was.
I see y'all looking all modest over there, Jeff. Go ahead. But I get it. So outside of that, it sounds like you were still staying active.
Staying active. Yeah, I've always been active since a little kid.
Yeah.
And then, I got my first road bike when I was 13. Did that for a few years, then got into mountain biking, did them both for a while, got into running. I liked running. So as I started to work more, running, I could just fit in. I could do it at lunch. I could do it after work before I went home. I could fit it in anytime. So running became convenient. And I did it.
Nice. You do no triathlon though?
I've done a couple of little sports.
Okay. That's my thing. I love triathlon because I love biking and running.
Yeah.
I could take the swimmer, leave it.
Man, that swimming is no joke.
Oh, there's a reason why they put it in the front.
Yes,
it's a full body sport. But yeah, so I'm into that. But I've done plenty of duathlons. Have you ever done a duathlon?
That's just run and bike, right?
Run, bike, run.
Run, bike, run. No, I've never done one.
Oh, all right. You got to try that. We've got a local one out here that I just absolutely adore. 5K run, 10-mile bike, 5K run. Hard. It's hard.
The running.
Yeah.
But the 10-mile bike's pretty easy, right?
Well, it's just the idea. Well, it's a race. So literally
you just go balls out.
It's red line from the minute you start to the minute you end. Yeah. Sprint triathlon, same thing. Sprint triathlon, red line from the beginning. So it's hard, but it's fun. You stayed cycling. And what else did you try?
I've done, CrossFit. I got into CrossFit and I've done a lot of stuff like that. My latest was Olympic lifting. It's funny because I have a runner's build. So I got into doing Olympic lifting. I lifted competitively.
A lot of CrossFitters, though, it's kind of like triathletes will go and then when they hang up the fins and the bike, and then they'll go do ultra running. And then it seems like CrossFitters will get rid of the rope, and everything else, and they'll just do Olympic lifting. So, but
that Olympic lifting, man, there's nothing quite like committing to get under a barbell you don't know if you can hold up or not in a split second.
How did you like CrossFit?
I like it. Look, I still like it. I did a partnered competition with my son for my 50th birthday. I don't think it's good for your body. I really don't. In terms of the wear and tear and the movements. I mean, so we're talking about Olympic lifting. People get into that because they like the precision and they like the discipline that it takes. And they like how you can lift more than the person next to you, even though they're stronger than you, because it's all about form. And then we'll take the snatch, which is taking the bar from the floor overhead in one movement in a squat, which is it's a very meticulous movement. And then we'll go to CrossFit and we're doing 30 snatches for time.
Really?
It just doesn't make sense. You're ripping this bar off the ground that's probably too heavy for you anyway. It's fraught with opportunities for injury. And that's what happens.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of watching injuries on the thing. So, I mean, but that's, yeah. So, yeah, I can see where a lot of people have some contentions with CrossFit. The first I went to CrossFit, and obviously there was this one place there that's very meticulous. And so you have to go through 2 weeks of this foundations class, and they'll literally make you've got to do the Olympic lifts. You got to do them 10 perfect.
Yeah.
All the lifts have to be done perfect, 10 each perfectly, before they'll let you into the RX class. So that might be something that's a little different. They do that pretty much at every gym, and not to poo-poo it or talk down, but it's way different when you're doing it for performance for a coach with 2 or 3 minutes in between each lift than when you're doing it under load, exhausted, and just want the workout to get over. And you're just slinging weight everywhere. You're just trying to get it over your head. I think I did a couple of classes, a couple of WODs, and I've done, obviously I'm a veteran. So on Memorial Day and Labor Day, we usually knock out Murph.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's pull-ups, push-ups, and squats. So it's not, you're under load, but it's not crazy. Yeah, I know that, a lot of people have incidents in CrossFit. There's a lot of stuff. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, you actually had an incident during a CrossFit class, right?
I did. Yeah. Minor little incident.
Minor. Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're being facetious. You want to tell me about it?
Yeah. Let me tell the first part of this story first, only to boost my ego. This was June the 5th, 2021. I ran my first overnight ultra, which was so fun. But just for my ego, I showed up to that race to win. That was the only reason I was there. It was my first overnight and I was going to win. It was a 50K. I got second, but still, that I'm fit. So I did the thing. I stretched and ate and drank for the week, did all of my resting, recovery, all that stuff. And June the 12th, I showed up at a CrossFit gym with my oldest son. He was 16 at the time. And it was a partner workout. One is you have to work really close with your partner. You count their reps. They count your reps. You have to know when they want to break. You have to know when they want to stop. And if it's synchronized, you're even closer. So you know how they are physically this entire time. And then the second thing is if you get a little bit of an edge on your partner, you can really bury them. So my son and I were working out together. He was my partner. And Brad, I was burying him. It was amazing. And my son he's a fire breather. I was doing wall balls and I started to get a real heavy heart rate in my neck. I could just feel it real pronounced. And then it got faster and faster. I was like, oh man, this is not going away. But it happened a few times before, long runs in the heat of the day. It would happen, but it would just go away. So I was like, oh man, this is not going away. This is weird. So then I stopped and I stood there with this wall ball for a second. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really uncomfortable. And I started getting a little lightheaded. So I took a knee and then I was like, man, this is not going away. And there was a dude in the rack next to me lifting while we were there doing this workout. And he put his hand on my shoulder and asked me if I was okay. And I was like, dude, get your hand off of me. I'm scared. I'm confused. I'm vulnerable. I don't know what's happening. Get your hand off me. And in a flash, like in less than a second. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm scared. I'm confused. I'm vulnerable. I don't know what's happening. Please do not let me go. Oh my gosh. And then I was like, I've got to lay down. So I started to lay over on top of the wall ball, and I was laying my head down on the gym floor. I was going down on my left side, and the last thing I saw was my son's shoes. His Metcons, his white Metcons, were walking towards me. And I was like, I got to get up. Jeff, what are you doing? Dude, get up. And I knew in my brain was sending the signal, but it was like I had no hydraulic fluid in my body. I couldn't move. And it's not like the movies, where you see the dude, he's shot from head to toe, bleeding everywhere. He's dying, but he still crawls over. Yeah, there was none of that. And I was out, man. It was like somebody walked up and turned the lights out, and my heart stopped.
What happened? So obviously the rest of it's here is what you were told. What happened when the lights came back on? Where were you?
So I'll fill the gap in. But when the lights came back on, I was in the gym. I was in the floor, and I was screaming. Like I was screaming, and I can still hear the echo because it's a giant aluminum, but just a big metal building.
Right. No
air conditioning, a fan. So you can imagine like how hot it is. It's June. And when I stopped screaming, I could hear the echo of the scream for another second or so. And everybody was just looking at me like I had 5 heads.
I can't imagine. So, I mean, was EMS there yet?
Yeah, they had just gotten there. They were getting the stretcher ready to put me on the stretcher. And I looked at the coach. Like first when I woke up, I was like, what are we doing? And like, are we going to finish this workout? Like what gives? And why am I wet? Because they had an ice machine there at the gym, and somebody went and got a bucket of ice and dumped ice on me. However, they thought I just passed out from heat.
Yeah.
So they were slapping me around for a little while, doing that whole bit. But I looked at the coach. I was like, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. Because I had this horrible taste in my mouth. It's like, I must have gotten drunk last night and came and did this workout and passed out. And he was like, no, you're so far off base. Like, no, that didn't happen. And I don't really even drink, so that would have been outlandish, but I could not remember the night before.
Crazy. Oh my God. Yeah. So now at this point, I'd be freaking out. But that's got to show you at least a little bit of the community that CrossFit breeds.
All right, so I went down, and they, somebody came over, they stopped the music, all that stuff. So they're slapping me around, trying to get me to come to. And then they put water on me, and they're like, oh, he's just hot. The director of safety at the Charleston Aquarium is there. And so they're doing all this stuff. And she's like, maybe we need to feel for a pulse. So she went for a pulse, and there was no pulse. And she's like, he doesn't have a pulse, guy. Like, there's no pulse. So she starts giving me chest compressions. And then she sent someone to get the AED. There's an AED there. So, and my son is watching all this. The 16-year-old kid is watching this whole thing happen. So they put the AED on me. And the AED is not like on the moose. It's not like you just connect it to somebody and you shock them and they come back to life. It's not like house. It has to detect a rhythm. So they put it on me and they said, no rhythm detected. Do chest compressions. So they're giving me chest compressions, and it observes every minute, I think. So every minute it'll check and see if there's a rhythm. So after a minute, I had an electrical signal. So it shocked me. And when it shocked me, it is like the movies because you come up off the ground. My son told me that. So when it shocked me, I flatlined, and it gives an audible flatline, like the beat, just like the movies. So my son loses his mind, just freaks out. Fortunately, our weightlifting coach was there. So she coached him and she coached me. And she said she had to pick him up. She had to pick him up and drag him. He was fighting her. They all came around and created a partition so that he couldn't see what was happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So obviously this director of safety, she heard the flat line, then she went back to work on compressions.
Yep.
Yeah. Because you want that, actually. You want that flat line. A lot of times and what we don't see in the movies. In the movies, it's like, oh, he's flatlining, shock him. When there's no pulse or when there's an irregular pulse, they'll hit it flatline, go to compressions, and that will restart the heart.
Yep. And that's when I had irregular rhythm. My heart rate was 386 beats a minute on that EKG.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So what happened is I went into ventricular fibrillation where the ventricles just vibrate. Yep.
Wow.
And then it just stopped. It was like, that's too fast. I'm out.
That's ventricles saying, there's the finish line. She got you to a flat line, did chest compressions. You said you woke up and EMS had just gotten there. So obviously she'd gotten you back to a regular rhythm, or at least a rhythm enough to wake you up.
Yeah. So it spooled again, it observed again, and then it said initiate shock 2. So this is the second shock. Someone said 2 and my son says 3. So the second shock, it was when I came to, but I really don't know.
All right. So you get into the ambulance by this point. Did he calm down?
No, she took him. Jen took him. She's like, all right, man, ambulance here. Your dad's going to be fine. Let's go. And so he thought that she was taking him to the hospital and she was taking him home.
Okay.
She knew I was dead. She's like, what am I going to do with this kid?
Oh, well, wait a second. So he takes him home. She takes him home.
Yeah, she takes him home. Yeah.
And mom is there, your wife.
Yeah.
Had she at least gotten a phone call by then?
Nope.
No?
Nope. Nothing. Yeah.
So did she tell her?
Yep.
I can't even.
Yeah. So then the calls started coming in. Calls were coming to Jen. Calls were coming to Cash. And somebody called my wife at the time.
Okay. And said, no, he's going to the hospital. He's got a heartbeat. Or was she like,
I thought at the time, she's like, damn it.
All right. So did you get a diagnosis?
I wasn't even going to go to the hospital. I was like, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I just a little dehydrated from my race so we could go.
I need to change the name on your titles here. I need to change it to Clark Kent. Okay.
An idiot. I wasn't thinking clearly, obviously, but I also had a bunch of stuff to do. Like that was my son's birthday party day that day. So I was like, I can't go to the hospital. He's having his birthday party. I got to go home. So I go to the hospital. This is on a Saturday. And then they start the EMTs were so condescending when they were there.
What?
Yeah, they were so condescending. It's just like the way I felt was that the fat old guy showed up at the gym and had a heart attack. That's how I felt. Like they got better things to do. Some of these fat old people just going to the gym and having heart attacks. Another Saturday at the fire department. But they were like, well, what made you think you could do this? Or do you know how hot it is? And have you been drinking? They meant like drinking water.
Yeah.
You've been hydrating. I was like, I've been hydrating. Yeah, I've done this before. Yeah, I think I got this. Did you take pre-workout? I was like, no.
That's a legitimate question. If you got a little bit of if you got some extra nitrous in you, there's been a link to that. So especially when that one, I'm gonna give it to them. The drinking, then I'm gonna give that to them too. But them being condescending, I was part of EMS for a while. No way.
Yeah, it was. I would say a humbling experience. It wasn't humbling. It was a negative experience. I was like, guys, I'm the customer. Like, help make me feel good. I'm vulnerable. Like, this sucks. This is awful. And you're making it worse. You're making it like it's my fault. Like you're inconvenienced.
Yeah,
that's what it was. That was what it was. They were inconvenienced.
It's very rare, but some of them are like, oh, all right, so this is just a ride. If it was Atlanta EMS or was it like a county EMS or was it a private?
No, it was Charleston County EMS.
Okay. Yes. So some of them are like, for them just to go throw leads on you and put you in the thing and take you to the hospital. They wanted some action. So like
they want to cut somebody out of a car,
or they wanted to at least they wanted to be there to go, oh, we need to give them CPR. They wanted to be the one to shock you. They wanted to be the one to give you epinephrine, and the whole bit. That's what they wanted. But they got there and basically they were babysitting. They hooked you up to the leads to make sure you'd be okay. 3 in the freaking ambulance and took you to the hospital.
Yeah.
So that sometimes it's very rare though. Most EMS guys are very good about that. They don't want you to feel like that. So I'm sorry you felt like that. As a former EMS guy, I apologize. But anyway, so you got to the hospital.
Got to the hospital. That was Saturday. It was like 10 o'clock. And then that process started over again. They were asking me about recreational drug use. They were like, there's no link here. Because I had no troponin. So they couldn't, because they thought heart attack, there was no troponin. And so I explained, I just had this long run. I probably should have trained better for it. And and I was tailing off of 2 previous races, long runs during the week. I mean, I had been really hammering it. So then they said, okay, well, that explains the enlarged right ventricle. And this went on for 2 days. And then Monday, someone comes in, a new doctor comes in. They go through the whole same series of tests, MRI, all that stuff. And I was diagnosed on Tuesday, late Tuesday. They came in and said, all right, well, we got really good news. We have a diagnosis for you. You have an ARVC. I was like, all right, well, what is that? And they said arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy. It's like, all right, thanks. So then they left and I start, I do what any smart patient does. I look it up on WebMD. I'm looking up all this stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't exercise. The first thing they say is you have this heart disease. You don't exercise. And it was the day that soccer player, Christian
Ronaldo.
Yes. Was it Ronaldo? No, the soccer player went down on the field.
Oh, and I don't even talk about.
Who was that guy? Christensen. Christensen. Anyway.
Yeah.
But it was the same day, same disease, the whole bit. So the doctor comes back and he said, all right, well, we're going down first thing in the morning to get they wanted to give me a pacemaker. They're going to have a pacemaker put in you to figure out which side of your chest you want it on. Or you can get an ICD, a subcutaneous defibrillator. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, slow down. First, let's talk about this exercise thing. So he said, yeah, you exercise exacerbates your condition. Your condition is exercise induced. So it's a gene that mutates that causes the muscle fibers in the heart, when they tear, they get infiltrated with fat and scar tissue. So then I have a bad electrical signal, like my mitochondrion has scar and fat. So the electrical signal doesn't travel that well. And that's what happened. My signal got hung up. So I was just spinning. And I guess that causes the VF too, for it'll hit so many times, but you can't really pump any blood.
Interesting. So they stuck with that diagnosis.
Stuck with it to this day.
Okay, so you're still getting treated for it. So did you end up with the ICD or the pacemaker?
I ended up with the ICD. No leads in the heart. I don't need to be paced.
Right. You didn't need to be paced. That's absolutely right. It's if it happens, to send a quick shock over, and sometimes you don't even know it. Actually, I have a friend that ended up having one, so I was afraid for him. So I've done the research and. Yeah, most of the time it's one or two things. It's one is you'll feel it if there's actually something going on.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I had it happen. I never felt a thing.
Right. When it happens, you don't feel it. When you do feel it is when you need to get it replaced or get a battery changed or something. Yeah. I've seen people that have gone back to working out and stuff. Obviously, it's like moved, and sometimes it releases and they've got to replace it, but they're still getting the shot. But on the the technology's gotten so good and distance gotten so good. You've got it. But like you said, when it works, and you're not really feeling it.
I've had no issue. I have some VF here and there. It just comes up when they do my downloads every week. They'll send me a report and say, oh, hey, were you feeling anything on July the 22nd? Because you had VF for 14 seconds.
Okay. All right. But on the whole, though, now you're feeling pretty good. And
yeah, I feel fine. So that was on June the 16th, I think, is the day I got it installed. They tell you can't do anything for 30 days. Don't lift anything heavier than a gallon of milk, that kind of stuff. So July 19th, after my 30 days was up, I did what any smart male athlete would do. I went back to the gym.
Okay.
So that was the first thing I did. And my son wanted me to go back. He wanted to see me be okay and lift weights. So I go back to the gym and I'm doing a heavy barbell complex. The bear complex is like you're under load for, I'm like 40 seconds. And it happened again. I was in VF for 46 seconds. So no shock because you have to be in bad rhythm for a minute.
Yeah.
And almost that. So that is when like I had the same taste in my mouth. I started to pass out. Everything happened that had happened before. But when it happened before, I didn't know what was happening. So this time I actively knew that I was dying. I was like, this is it. Like I am dying. That's exactly what's happening. I am dying.
Did you go like sit down at a wall? Did you just stay on the bench? Did you lie on the bench? What did you do?
No. So I was in the front of the gym and there was a counter there, like where they have the computer and the science sheets and all that stuff. So I just happened to be there by it and I leaned over on that, waiting for it to go away.
Okay. And
I was really waiting to get shocked. That I knew the shock was coming, but the shock never came.
It took you out of FFib.
Yeah.
And did you finish the workout?
No,
I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. So, all right. So this happens again. What's going through your head now? So you stopped. Did you let your son just keep going? Finish the workout?
Oh, yeah. I pretended like everything was fine. After he dropped them, and he's like, what are you doing? You all right? Because I was looking at my watch at my heart rate, and I was like, well, I can't figure this out. Well, like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. It's been a while since I've worked out. I'm probably not going to finish this workout, but I feel good. And I just covered it up like everything was fine, but all I wanted to do was hug somebody. I just wanted to connect with another human. That's all I wanted to do. And I couldn't because I had to pretend like everything was fine.
All right. I don't think your son would have minded you freaking giving him a bro hug disguised as hey, I'm hanging on for dear life. But
yeah,
that's just how I feel. Wow. That's crazy. So now, all right. So now you've had the main event and then you've gone through treatment. Now you had a smaller event. What changed? What did you start changing in your life to make sure that doesn't happen again?
I immediately stopped everything. I was like, oh my God. Like I was scared to drive. I was scared to take a shower because I was scared to be in a bathroom by myself. As people say life is short, I don't know. Is life short? Who knows? But I know now, that death is real. I can tell you what it tastes like. It doesn't wait for an invitation. It doesn't call ahead to let you know it's coming. It doesn't matter if it's convenient for you or not. And that's like, we all know death is real, yet it's like this abstract thing. And when it happened to me, it became so real.
You got like PTSD from this last one. I mean, I'm not a editor, but that's what it sounds like.
Oh yeah. I lived in fear. It's about to happen again. Yeah, I've gotten way better. But also it was like, okay, so now I really do have this disease. Now I really am not supposed to exercise. Because I thought the doctors were idiots before that. It's like, I've put my heart through way worse than this. I mean, this is nothing. It's just a fluke. It became real.
So, all right. You're not going to make me believe that you completely stopped exercise. So you're living in fear through this time. So now there has to be another change. What was going on in your head? How did you combat that?
So when I tell that story, I do a keynote talk. When I tell the story, I know what people are going to say to me. They say, oh my gosh, you must be so grateful. Oh my gosh, God has a plan for you. Oh my gosh, I bet you look at life so different. But I was so angry and so bitter and such a victim that I couldn't find gratitude. I was not grateful. I was so mad. So then I had to figure, and I was sitting on the couch, I couldn't do anything. I didn't exercise. So that sent me into depression, like deep depression. It got really dark for me for a while. And I was like, I have to get my life back. I don't know how, but I've got to get my life back. So then I just started small gratitude. I would just write down. It started out with 3 things every day. What was I grateful for? And it was like, I'm grateful that wireless mouse. It's just stuff that I had to do the exercise. And then one day I was walking on the beach and I was like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to get my life back. I was like, okay, what's great about this? I was like, I have this and I don't have a shellfish allergy. That was what I came up with. And I was like, I have a bad heart and I'm grateful that I don't have a shellfish allergy. Where in the world does that make sense? And so my brain just started working. And I just started thinking, I was like, it's weird. Some people have a shellfish allergy. Some people don't. You know what? Some people don't have one their entire life. Then they sit down at an all-you-can-eat buffet and eat like 100 shrimp, and then they get the allergy. How does that happen? I was like, everybody's body's just different, I guess. Maybe my body will respond differently to this disease. I was like, all right, well, I'll do some research. So I started doing research. What can I do? What have other people done that have had this diagnosis? And I found some things that people had done. I found some things that I shouldn't do. It's like I would rather die living. Doing what I want to do. Otherwise, then why be here? Hey, I really want to stay alive to do the things that I hate and not do the things that I love. That doesn't make sense to me. So I had to figure out what I could do. And I started exercising.
I went back to the gym. Did you really?
I really did.
You went back to the CrossFit gym?
So here's what I did. So I did my research. I found things that I could do. And now, it's not. So here's the thing. Like, I may be getting a little ahead, but, like people are scared to die in a plane crash, right? It's not the plane crash, because the plane crash is instantaneous. What we're scared of is the 90 seconds it takes to get to the ground with everybody screaming and peeing their pants. That's what we don't want. So that's what I didn't want. I don't want the ride to the hospital getting shocked every minute until I die. That's what I don't want. So I had to figure out what I could do. And like catecholamines are bad for me. Everything all the chemicals, all the neurochemicals, whatever they're called, like neurotoxins, not toxins, but like your, adrenaline, endorphins, dopamine, right. Those chemicals are bad for my heart. So I had to figure out what I could do. First, I had to figure out the environment. I had to figure out how to control upstairs, how to keep all those things under control. And I found a coach. It was the coach that was actually there with me the day it happened the very first time. I was like, all right, look, man, I can exercise, but it has to be on these parameters. I need someone to help me write workouts. I need a quiet place where I can do all this stuff. I need someone to not motivate me, to not cheer me on. I need no music. And I need you to make sure I don't die. Will you do it? He said, hell yeah, I'll do it. Hell yeah. So I went back. We had a 1:00 appointment at the same gym. They had just done a 12:00 class when I walked in. Gym was completely quiet, just him and me there, lights out, everything. He said, all right, warm up for 4 minutes, light pedaling on the Echo bike. So I did. And the whole time, Brad, I was like, oh my gosh, it's coming. I can feel it. I can feel it. It's coming. I almost manifested it. Nothing happened. So then we started actual warm-ups where I started breaking a little bit of a sweat, a little bit of effort. I could feel it. I knew it was coming. Nothing happened. So then we started the workout. And the thing that I could do was heavy load for short periods of time. That was the only real thing that was going to be, one, beneficial for me, and two, to prevent the high heart rate, long periods of time that causes the adrenaline, and also the fast movement to get the endorphins. So I started those deadlifts and I worked out. I probably worked for maybe 15 or 20 seconds and I dropped them. And I was like, man, I can't do this. I quit because I was terrified. Like I was terrified, and I can't verbalize dramatically enough how scared I was. It was awful. And I said, I quit. Like, I am done. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, I quit. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to. And now I'm crying. So I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to do this. I can't do it. And I guess because I was crying, he said, well, what is it? Does this thing hurt you? What is it? I said, no, I can't do it. I quit. I can't exercise anymore. I'm done. In that moment, I truly, truly became a quitter. I quit. And if any of your listeners have ever been there, I am so sorry. It's the bottom.
Yeah.
It was so awful.
I had 2 incidents, but unfortunately nothing close to, but I understand the feeling. I overheated in a triathlon and passed out, woke up in the med tent with ice underneath my elbows. And I was like, all right. And I looked at him and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Can you send me back? Can you bring me back right where I ended so I could finish? And they're like, are you absolutely nuts? You're done. We already got rid of your chip. We already took care of it back. And no, you DNF'd. And I was like, body hit. And then, of course, a couple years later, I got 2 flat tires. I only carried 1 tube. Yeah, that was the worst. And it's not because of being scared or anything or this thing going on. It literally was just and that wasn't even it was my fault. I should have had another tube. But, it was external thing that were happening.
DNF is bad. Well, under any circumstance.
If you could sit there. No, it's internally, right? Like, no one blamed me but me. Like, it was me. I'm the one that blamed me. No one cared. They're like, you got 2 flat tires. And it could happen to anybody. It was bad luck. That's what they said. Bad luck. Right. You know what I mean? You got heat exhaustion. It was hot. It was 102 degrees. I mean, that would have hurt anybody. The thing is that I've been training in Florida and I'm like, that shouldn't happen to me. But like I said, it's not even close to what you're feeling, but at least I have a glimmer of what you felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but obviously you've gotten through this.
Yeah. So in that workout, I quit. He's like, all right, I get it. You quit, but let's do this. I just need 30 seconds of work and then we'll be done. I was like, no, you don't understand. I quit. Like, I quit. And so we argued and there was a lot of cussing and mostly from me. And he said, look, I don't have a client until 4:00. I'll wait for you. Just give me 30 seconds of work. I was like, all right, I'll give it to you. And I was hoping something bad was going to happen just to prove to him that I was right, that I didn't need to be doing that. So I did it. I did 30 seconds and dropped the kettlebells. And he's like, that's amazing. That's a win. We're done. I was like, I could probably do 30 more seconds. He's like, yeah, do it. Do it. If you feel like doing 30 more seconds, do it. And then we'll quit. So I did 30 more seconds and I was done. And he said, that's more than I could have hoped for. That's amazing. You have to be proud of yourself. And we're done. That's it. You came in here and you won. And I did the entire workout. It took a long time, but I did the entire workout, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And I got my life back. Like, that's when I got my life back. I was done with the workout. I was just about to finish. I had a little bit left. And I'm going, okay, I can do that. I can do this work. I can do this. I can do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. It's not what I'm accustomed to. I'm not burning it down, but I'm choosing. This is my choice. And I did it. I was hopeless. I was absolutely hopeless. When I quit, I was hopeless. And in that same workout, I got my life back. It was amazing. And I owe it to Phil Galaska. It was amazing.
Okay, I got to ask about that first. But first I got to say, this coach is freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
The best thing anyone's ever done for me.
So what was this? I missed this whole thing. You said Alaska and then...
Oh, Phil Galaska is his name.
Oh, Phil Galaska. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, you went to Alaska? I'm like, what? So I almost was like, was it some kind of competition in Alaska that you went to? And I'm like, okay, man. All right. So you felt like you got your life back.
Yeah.
So what's been going on in your, obviously you've been, you still got your company, but what has gone on since then?
So after that, I was like, all right, well, I can do this. I was still afraid. I was still very much afraid. And, I couldn't watch the CrossFit games. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch, like, my son wrestled. It was hard for me to watch wrestling because I had this whole thing in my mind about adrenaline and endorphins and all those things were happening. I was constantly trying to block that kind of stuff out. Then I couldn't really do CrossFit. Oh, I would go to the workouts, but I had to take my rower and put it back in the corner and not watch anybody else. And I couldn't find my place. So then I like that competitive edge. So then that's where I started doing competitive weightlifting. I was like, all right, well, can you train me to lift heavy stuff? We could do it in short bursts. And that way I'm not getting the adrenaline. I'm not under load for extended periods of time. And it still gives me something to chase. So then that's when I started doing that.
But it's finding what you can do and excel.
That's it.
No.
For, every obstacle now you just look at it, or I'm like, all right, well, there's the obstacle. What's the opportunity? Because there's got to be an opportunity because somebody else has had this obstacle too. So you find the opportunity. And that's what I started doing. And then there were a couple of times, like one day, well, I've got a big setup in my garage now so that I can work out alone and I don't get those catecholamines. Neurotransmitters. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
Neurotransmitters. And I was setting up a workout one day for me and my son. And so I'm writing out the workout and I was like, but I'm going to do this, this, and this. He said, well, why are you not doing the same workout as me? I was like, well, I can't do what you do. I'm like, I can't burn it down. And he looked at me and said, yeah, you can. You're just scared. I was like, oh. That stung. So then I started to kind of meddle a little bit with doing more intense stuff. And there were some times I've burned it down a few times. I mean, we did that competition. I didn't go completely crazy, but I stick mostly to lower intensity, higher weight stuff now.
Okay. So it sounds like what you've realized is that you could burn it down, just not as frequently as you did.
Yeah. And I think that's a good trade-off. Because I will say, when this whole thing started, my plan was to accelerate the disease to get a transplant. That was my plan. Not a good plan. But that's what I was going to do. And I'm not bragging about that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good plan at all. The rate of people getting transplants, because you wouldn't get put very high on the list because they would have said that you did it to yourself.
Well, and my age.
And your age. Yeah. Well, all right. So I'm assuming you're
50.
Okay. So I'm a few years older than you. Of course, we're always going to have these obstacles. Your obstacle was that fear. And you had to find a way to break through it, to find that you can do and keep yourself healthy, fit, and not damage your heart any more than it already was. Right. To stay there. And you found it. And I think that's the way to go. So I started coaching because I got hurt. Well, I was getting ready for my first marathon in my second life. And that's a whole different story. I was at a boot camp class and we're doing suicides. Right. And all I have to do is touch the line and come back and I'm done with that set. So I get to the line, my foot sticks. So my foot sticks and my body turns and you heard everybody heard the pop of my disc. I mean, everybody heard it. It was obliterated. It was S5, L5, S1, and it was gone. But I had the adrenaline, the oxytocin, the endorphins, everything was running. So I finished. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I just must have cracked my back really heavy. It's not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. It's still running. I finished the workout. Now, I had a chiropractor appointment that day. Anyway, I literally was going to the gym, back to the chiropractor, and I'm thinking, okay, so I did something. He'll fix it. I'll be fine. On the way to the chiropractor, my legs get numb. My back starts to throb. I don't know what's going on. I literally walk into the chiropractor almost at a 90-degree angle.
Oh my gosh.
And the girls at the desk go, okay, let's get you in here. Dr. B, Trend, she was with another client. Like, let's get you some ice. Let's get you on your stomach. Let's get this thing going. So I do that. Then Dr. B, I slowly make my way over to her office. And the one thing you're not supposed to do as a chiropractor, the one thing you don't do when somebody's in trauma is adjust them. She adjusted me. She tried. Now, here's the funny story. If you ever been to a chiropractor's office?
Never.
Okay. So they have these tables, just like in a regular doctor's office. There's that white paper that you lay on. So it's just across the head of the table of where your head goes. Now, if you're on your stomach, you've got this. So you don't, when you drool and stuff, all it's on the white paper, right? That's just being sanitary. So I'm on my back. She does a couple of things and she goes, okay, I need you to stand up and go over to this other table on your side. I'm like, okay, no problem. And I put one foot down and the pain is so bad, I pass out.
Oh my gosh.
So I wake up and Dr. Bertrand, she was like, are you back with us now? I said, Dr. B, what are you doing up here? You know why I said it?
Thought you were in heaven.
You're the first person that got
Why?
Because when I woke up, all I saw was the white paper.
The white paper.
Yeah. And I said, Dr. B, what are you doing up here?
Wow.
So anyway, I can't get off the table. And I ended up, they put me in the other room. They got me stim. They got ice. They got all the stuff. Nothing worked. Ended up calling the ambulance and I got wheeled out. Of there with a full freaking lobby of people.
Like just what we hate.
Yeah. Well, hearing people in the background going, you know what? Something just came up. I'm going to have to reschedule. Don't call me. I'll call you.
Yeah.
That was my whole, figured everything out. My neurosurgeon and my orthopedic surgeon both said the same thing. They says, you're not a candidate for surgery and you'll probably never run again. You might be able to squeeze out a couple miles as a warm up really slow before it starts to hurt you, but you're going to have to find something else. I started researching everything, trying everything. And what I ended up doing was using Grey's Anatomy and talking to people to a point where I changed my running form to take all the impact off my back. So 40 marathons later, 5 Ironmans, 50 some odd half marathons, and a ton of 5Ks and 10Ks later. I'm still here. So that's my story, which I've never really told. But basically, that's what got me into coaching. I'd gotten all this knowledge, and then people started asking me, well, how are you doing this?
Did you shorten your stride?
Shorten my stride, started leaning them forward. Basically, all the concepts of barefoot running.
Okay.
But it's not, because natural running is your body doing exactly that, taking all the impact off your knees, your back, your hips.
Yeah.
I had changed my form 3 times before I found one that I was able to keep going. But meanwhile, still getting massages, still going to chiropractors, still being very heavily on recovery, do a lot of, foam rolling and all that stuff. And, when I do feel it, I got to go back and check my form again. I got to get somebody to video me. I got to figure out, okay, is my left foot falling too forward? My right foot, my hips out of place? What's going on? But it's very rare that it happens now. But also was a lot of core work. So develop those muscles around the spine and work the core so that it stabilizes.
We don't give the core the attention that it deserves, the attention that it needs.
So what you been doing since then?
For exercise?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you've been Olympic lifting. That's great.
Yep.
And you're hitting CrossFit, sounds like.
Yeah. And I started running a little bit, getting back into that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's just kind of been my routine. Like today's workout was floor dumbbell bench press, GHD sit-ups, ring dips, and hold a heavy sandbag for 40 seconds.
Nice.
It's 10 rounds of that.
Yeah.
So I'm changing it up a little bit. And summer is tough too, like dog days of summer. It's just, there's no real target, not a lot going on. So that's kind of been my routine.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, obviously you and I have kind of the same weather. I'm in Tampa, you're in Georgia. So, I mean, it's muggy and it's wet and hot. So that doesn't help. You know what? You had just barely glanced over it, but I heard you say something about you give a keto talk. Did you say that?
I public speaking, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I give a talk about the whole incident in the 30 seconds.
Really?
What happened. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
No, I love them. I've done talks on podcasting and at conventions and stuff like that. On the technical side a little bit more, and obviously through running and stuff. I love speaking. So that's awesome. How often do you do it?
Oh, not often enough. Probably like every other month.
Where?
Nashville.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a full-time job to try to find the places to get the talks.
So have you started looking at TED Talk and stuff? Sounds like you've got.
I just submitted my first application for TEDx Warrenton.
Okay. Hey, it's going to happen.
Yeah. You got to find that thing, what the thing is that causes tension or that's controversial.
Yeah.
And you got to keep trying.
Yeah. No. I haven't gone that far yet. That's exactly the reason why I haven't tried, was I feel like, and it might be an imposter syndrome thing. I just feel like I haven't found that piece that people would be interested in. You know what I mean? I've got a ton of
Somebody's interested.
About people. I've got, my first client had MS and was taking a junk load of medicine and stuff. And we worked for a year to get him up to a half marathon. Then he decided that he started doing half marathons like every weekend, whether it be organized or not. He ran 5-6 miles a day during the week and then one half marathon on the weekend, then take Sundays off. That was his routine for years. I caught up with him at a race a few years later and I talked to him and it was like, how's things going? He goes, oh my God, it's great. He says, I'm on a third of the medicine that I was on when I talked to you last. He says, my doctors think I'm doing great. I haven't had a flare up in years. And I asked him like, oh, so are you still doing a half marathon a weekend? He says, every weekend like clockwork. He says, if I can't find one that's organized, I run it myself. And,
awesome.
Yeah. And I go, well, you could take a weekend off. I mean, every third week you should take off just to make sure. He goes, He goes, I'm so scared that the minute that I start to take off, that I'm going to have to go back on medicine and I'm going to start getting flare-ups again, that I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, God bless you. Hey, knock yourself out, man. If it's working for you, it's working for you. So, but yeah, so I've got stories like that, but I don't know if worth it. I've heard a ton of stories on running and stuff. And I don't know. Like I said, it might be imposter syndrome. It might be a context. I don't know, but that's great that you're doing keynotes. What kind of organizations have you been giving these keynotes to?
Corporations. I give them for entrepreneurs organization.
Right.
It's more motivational, so it's not tactical.
Right.
It's fun. I enjoy it.
Excellent. I like to hear that. Well, I see that you are active on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You got your LinkedIn right there.
How that popped up.
And how's that been going?
It's good. That one's fun. I do, like every other episode is just me. Talk for 10 or 15 minutes about something. But it's fun.
Good. And I'm assuming Apple, Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All the
great
usual suspects.
So go take a look at that. Remember, again, it's all no can't motivational podcast. And listen, so you can get more of Jeff. If you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and hit that like, that subscribe, hit that notification bell so you always know when another episode is dropping. If you're listening on Apple or on Spotify, I'd appreciate it if you gave a review. And you know that I don't even care that it's a bad review, because all it's going to do is help me evolve the podcast and help more people. So that is the benefit of reviews. Now, don't get me wrong. It's okay if you give a good one too. We like those. Jeff, hey, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you.
This is a good time, and you helped me actually get out a little bit more of my story as well, which I never get to do.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. And yeah, so for all of you out there, for Jeff and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. Well, that wraps up another episode of Life-Changing Challengers. I'm your host, Brad Minus, saying thank you for joining us on this journey of transformation. If today's stories inspired you, please take a moment to review, share, and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us reach more listeners and create an even bigger impact. Remember, every challenge is a chance to grow. Until next time, keep pushing, keep challenging, and never stop pursuing your extraordinary.